Welcome to the deep dive. You know how sometimes you go down these internet rabbit holes? Well, that's what we do here. We map them out for you. And this time, buckle up, because we're going all the way back to 1987.
Wow, 1987, back when the internet was just a twinkle in someone's eye and TV was king.
Exactly. It was a different world. And in that world, something really strange happened. The Max Headroom incident.
Yeah, the Max Headroom incident, equal parts creepy and just fascinating.
It really is. Okay, so for anyone who maybe hasn't heard of this, just imagine you're sitting down to watch the evening news, right? Or maybe even an episode of Doctor Who.
Classic.
And suddenly your screen is taken over by this.
Well, this figure.
Wearing a Max Headroom mask. But it's more than just a mask, right?
Yeah, it's like, why that mask? Why Max Headroom?
I mean, Max Headroom himself was already kind of unsettling, this computer-generated satirical guy. He represented a lot of anxieties people had back then about media, artificial intelligence, you know, like those dystopian futures we see in movies.
Right. Like Max Headroom, 20 minutes into the future. That show. Exactly. So whoever chose that mask for the hijacking, they were making a statement.
Oh, absolutely. It wasn't just random. And then there were those messages, those distorted, creepy messages.
And don't forget the fly swatter.
Yeah, the fly swatter incident.
Yeah.
So disturbing. It's like they wanted to make people uncomfortable. Like they were saying, look how easy it is to mess with your precious TV.
Which is why I think the rogue insider theory is so interesting.
The rogue insider. Okay. Tell me more about that one.
Well, think about it. In 1987, to pull off something like this, that wasn't easy. This was way before everyone had a computer in their pocket.
You're telling me hacking back then was a lot different.
Oh, yeah. Completely different. We're talking specialized knowledge, expensive equipment. They had to understand broadcast frequencies. This wasn't some kids messing around in their basement.
So you needed someone with some serious skills.
Exactly. And someone who knew how TV broadcasting worked from the inside. And then there's the little details, like making fun of that Chicago sportscaster, Chuck Swirsky.
Oh, right. And the Clutch Cargo theme song?
That's a pretty obscure reference. It all points to someone who is connected to the Chicago media scene.
Okay, I'm with you so far. But if it was someone working at the station, why do all that? Why not just, I don't know, leak some documents or something?
Good question. It's a question that haunts a lot of the theories. But what if the point wasn't to expose something specific?
What do you mean?
What if the point was the disruption itself?
So it's less about, like, revealing secrets and more about
showing how vulnerable the system is.
Whoa. Like, look, we can take over your airways anytime we want, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Exactly. And they chose Max Headroom, someone who already represented all that fear about media control and technology taking over. It's like they were using the symbol of media control to attack the media itself.
That's a really interesting way to think about it. But okay, let's talk about another theory I've heard. The college prank theory.
Ah, the college prank. Well, Chicago in the 80s, lots of universities, lots of tech programs, lots of students with time on their hands.
And probably a good amount of mischief, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Hacking back then, it was seen as kind of a mischievous intellectual thing, like pushing the limits, showing off your skills, maybe sticking it to the man a little bit.
So kind of like the old school version of internet pranks.
Yeah. Except instead of going viral online, they were messing with TV signals. So could a bunch of tech-savvy college kids have pulled this off? Maybe. But again, we come back to the why.
Yeah, why do all that and then just disappear? If it was a prank, you'd think they'd want to brag about it.
Exactly. And then there's the content itself, the fly swatter, the messages. It's just so weird, so disturbing. It doesn't really feel like a harmless prank. It feels more like they were trying to really freak people out, make them question what they were seeing.
Okay, so not just a prank. So if it wasn't a rogue insider getting revenge, and it wasn't a college prank gone wrong, what about a political statement?
A political statement. Now, that's an angle that a lot of people have explored. Remember, Max Headroom was seen as this critique of corporate media, right? And the 80s, there was a lot of concern about the power of big corporations.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So think about it. They choose Max Headroom. They interrupt these mainstream broadcasts. They spout these cryptic messages. It could be seen as a way of challenging media authority, a way of rejecting consumerism.
Like they were saying, we see what you're doing and we're not buying it.
Right. And even that upside-down Pepsi can, when you consider that Max Headroom was a Coke spokesperson.
Oh, that's a good point. It's like a visual metaphor for turning the whole system upside down.
Exactly. But again, we're left with that question of what exactly were they trying to say? The message is so cryptic So shrouded in symbolism, it's hard to pin down a specific agenda.
Like, they wanted to make us think about media manipulation, but they didn't offer a clear solution.
Right. It's more about raising questions than providing answers.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, let's try a different approach. What about performance art?
Performance art. Now, there's a theory that's gained some traction over the years. The 80s was a time when these avant-garde art movements were really taking off. A lot of them were about shocking people, making social commentary, pushing the boundaries of what art could be.
Right, right. So how does Max Headroom fit into that?
Well, think about it. The bizarre visuals, the cryptic actions, the whole thing feels very surreal, very unsettling. It's like they were turning the television screen into a stage.
Like they were saying, we're not just going to critique the media, we're going to take it over and make it do our bidding.
And the fact that nobody ever came forward to claim responsibility, that just adds to the mystery, the whole mystique of it.
It's like the artist wanted the work to speak for itself.
Right. But there's a problem with that. See, performance art is usually about engaging with the audience, creating dialogue, provoking interpretation. But by staying anonymous, the artist loses control over how their work is perceived. It just becomes this open question, this blank space for us to project our own anxieties and interpretations onto.
So it's a puzzle with missing pieces. We have all these possible explanations. The rogue insider, the college prank, the political statement, the performance art piece. But they also seem to run into a wall.
It's like we're trying to solve a mystery with half the clues missing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the Max Headroom incident so fascinating.
And so frustrating.
I know, right?
It really is a puzzle. But you know what? Maybe that's what keeps us coming back to it. Those unanswered questions, those loose ends, the fact that it just doesn't fit neatly into any box.
It's true. It's like it just resists explanation, this bizarre masked figure,
Yeah.
just pops into our living rooms, freaks everybody out, and then vanishes. Poof. Like it never even happened.
And it leaves us trying to make sense of it all, right? Trying to find some logic in this totally illogical event. It's almost like looking into this void,
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. A void.
Yeah.
So where do we even go from here? I mean, we've got all these theories, but they all seem to have these holes in them.
Well, that's the thing about mysteries like this. They invite speculation. They make people fill in the blanks. And sometimes those blanks get filled in with some pretty wild ideas.
Okay, like what? Give me an example.
Well, how about the psychological experiment theory? Some people think maybe this whole thing was staged by, some kind of shadowy research group.
Hold on, wait a minute. Like they were trying to see how people would react to this kind of media disruption.
Exactly. It's kind of a creepy thought.
Totally creepy. I mean, can you imagine being a viewer back then? You're just flipping through channels, and then boom.
Yeah.
There's this distorted figure on your screen spouting gibberish, getting spanked with a fly swatter.
Yeah. They would definitely mess with your head. And ethically, that's a whole other can of worms.
They're kidding. But honestly, I don't buy it. I mean, if this was some government-funded research project or whatever, wouldn't there be some record of it, some paper trail, something?
You'd think so, right? But that's part of what fuels these conspiracy theories. The lack of evidence. And honestly, why target just those 2 Chicago stations? It doesn't really add up.
Okay, so psychological experiment, probably not. What else you got?
All right, how about this? The underground network theory. The idea that the hijackers were part of some secret group, like signal pirates, fighting against corporate control of the airwaves.
Okay, that's a pretty cool image. Like Robin Hood, but for television.
Right, it's a very romantic notion, and it makes sense if you think about the context, The 80s, all those worries about big media getting too powerful. But once again, we run into some problems. If this was a coordinated attack, why just those 2 incidents?
And why haven't we heard from them since?
Exactly. It's like they made their point and then vanished back into the ether, which honestly might be the most effective strategy. It just adds to the legend, keeps the story alive.
Keeps us podcasters in business. Okay, but seriously, you're right. It's that unanswered question, that lingering mystery that makes it so compelling. Speaking of unanswered questions, we've got to talk about the international connection theory.
Yes, the Cold War angle.
I mean, it was the 80s, right? Espionage, Cold War tensions. Could this have been some foreign power messing with U.S. communications, trying to sow chaos and distrust. It sounds like a spy movie.
It does, doesn't it? And I can see why people would go there. The motive fits, the mystery fits. But again, we're lacking evidence. No claims of responsibility, no whispers from intelligence agencies.
It all just feels very speculative.
It does, but that's the thing, isn't it? Sometimes those speculative theories tap into something deeper, like our fear of the unknown, the possibility that there are these forces out there that we just don't understand, that we can't control.
It's true. The Max Headroom incident, it plays on all our anxieties about technology, about media, about the nature of reality itself. But for me, the biggest head-scratcher is still the how. Like, how did they actually do it? Back in 1987, how do you hijack a TV signal? It's not like you could just download some hacking software.
No, definitely not. This was old school hacking. It would have taken a lot of technical expertise and a lot of ingenuity. We're talking specialized equipment, a deep understanding of broadcast frequencies, signal transmission. It wasn't easy.
So walk me through it. Pretend I'm a total tech newbie. What would they have needed?
Well, first off, they needed a powerful transmitter, something that could overpower the existing signal and broadcast their own. And they probably needed some kind of amplifier to boost that signal so it could reach a wider area.
And remember, this was before you could just Google how to do this stuff. They had to figure it out on their own.
Absolutely. Which tells us they were serious about this. This wasn't some spur-of-the-moment prank. This was planned.
Carefully planned. And you know what's even crazier? They got away with it. The FCC investigated, the Chicago police investigated, and nothing. No arrests, no suspects, no leads.
It's like they vanished into thin air.
It's wild. And that's what really gets to me. The fact that they pulled it off and then just disappeared.
Right.
No bragging rights, no explanations. It's almost like they wanted to create this mystery, this legend.
And they succeeded, because here we are, all these years later, still trying to figure it out.
Still talking about it. Still diving down the rabbit hole.
And maybe that's the point. Maybe the lack of resolution is what makes it so enduring. It's like a story without an ending.
And that's what keeps us hooked. It's the ultimate cliffhanger. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. Today, everything is documented. Everything is online. Everything's analyzed to death.
We leave these massive digital footprints wherever we go.
But this incident from, what, almost 40 years ago, it's like a ghost story, a glitch in the system.
And the timing of it all is really interesting. Like you said, it happened right on the edge between the old analog world and the digital one we live in now.
TV was still the big thing,
right?
But you could see the internet coming. You could see things changing.
Exactly. The Max Headroom incident, it's almost like a warning from the future, like a glimpse of all the ways media could be disrupted, could be manipulated, and not just the technology itself, but the content, the message.
It's like they were early adopters. Of media manipulation, I mean.
They were. Think about it. Anonymous, using humor, disruption. They wanted to get people talking, get under their skin, and they succeeded. Decades later, we're still talking about it. They created this mystery, this artifact, articles, documentaries, podcasts.
Speaking of, even all these years later, it still has this power. It gets people thinking, gets people arguing.
The power of the unknown. We humans, we crave explanations, we want to make sense of things. And when we can't, well, our brains start filling in the blanks.
And sometimes those blanks get filled in with some pretty wild stuff, like we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. It's like this Rorschach test for the information age. Everyone sees something different in it. Some see a prank, some see a political statement, some see performance art, some even see, I don't know, aliens.
Right. It becomes this reflection of whatever your anxieties are, whatever you're worried about. But, okay, putting all the theories aside for a second, there's a bigger point here, right?
Absolutely. And that point is we have to be critical. We can't just passively consume information, especially these days. We have to question everything. Question the sources, question the motives, question the message.
Don't just take things at face value.
Because who knows, maybe the next time you're scrolling through TikTok or watching CNN or, even listening to a podcast.
Maybe even this one.
Maybe even this one. You might hit that glitch, that moment that makes you question everything you thought you knew. And when that happens, think about Max Headroom. Remember those masked figures? Remember that sometimes the most important truths are the ones that don't have easy answers.
Well said. And with that, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. From the technical details of signal hijacking to the wildest conspiracy theories.
We've explored the history, the context, the theories, but ultimately, the mystery remains. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's the beauty of it. So to our listeners, we lead you with this. Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep diving deeper. Because out there, in the vast unknown, there are always more rabbit holes to discover. And until next time, thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.